Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast of the Cloud of Witnesses. This is your Pastor Yeti. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about the encountering the cloud of witnesses. As you can tell by now, I believe fully in a spiritual dimension where the cloud of witnesses is active and even involved in our lives. Before we're going to close this cloud of witnesses very shortly, I want to point out a few more functions I see the cloud of witnesses involved in. In Revelation 19 verse 10, we see John having an encounter with an heavenly being. And I fell at his feet to worship him. But he said to me, "See that you do not do that. I am your fellow servant and of your brothers who have the testimony of Jesus. Worship God. For the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy." As we traditionally read this verse, we would think John is having an encounter with an angel. Upon closer investigation, though, we might come to a different conclusion. John falls to worship this entity. This is probably why we assume this is an angel. He has such glory on him that John feels compelled to worship. He is told, however, not to. Worship belongs only to the Lord. Heaven is jealous for Jesus and the Godhead to get all the worship and all the glory. This being then makes some statements that can give us clues to who he is and where he is from. First of all, he declares, "I am your fellow servant." He doesn't say, "I'm your servant." If this is what he said, then he might be an angel because they are our servants sent to minister to the heirs of salvation. Hebrews 1 verse 14. He, however, says he is John's fellow servant. This means he is like us. He is of human form. Angels actually are not of human form. Ultimately, we will judge them. 1 Corinthians 6:2 verse 3 reveals that we will judge angels in the life to come. Do you not know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world will be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Do you not know that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? There is a distinct difference in rank between angels and humans. This entity claiming to be John's fellow servant could not be an angel. He is saying he is just like us. A second clue about this entity is found in a statement that he is John's brother. Angels are not our brothers. That would mean we have the same DNA and can operate the same way. It will mean we have the same nature. This is not true. Presently, angels have been given a higher ranking than humans. Psalm 8, 4-5 states that presently angels and humans operate in two different spheres. What is man, that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man, that you visit him? For you have made him a little lower than the angels, and you have crowned him with glory and honor. Right now, we are lower than angels in rank. This means we are two different species. We are not brothers. Later we will be higher than the angels because, as we saw, we will judge them. At no time, however, are we equal to them. This is because we are not brothers with angels. This being John is encountering claims, however, to be his brother. This would mean he is not an angel. Another clue is that this being claims to have the testimony of Jesus. The testimony of Jesus means they carry in their spirit the revelation of who Jesus is and can give witness to it from a first-hand account. We are told in 1 Peter 1, 10-12 that angels desire to look into the salvation granted us. Of this salvation the prophets have inquired and searched carefully, who prophesied of the grace that would come to you, searching what, or what manner of time, the Spirit of Christ who was in them, with indicating when he testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ and the glories that would follow. To him, to them, it was revealed that, not to themselves, but to us, they were ministering to things which now have been reported to you, through those who have preached the gospel to you by the Holy Spirit, sent from heaven, things which angels desires to look into. The prophet prophesied of the salvation that we would have. The Spirit of Christ was in them, showing the suffering Jesus would go through centuries and millenniums before it occurred. These prophets could see what was coming. Notice that the angels desired to look into all this, but were forbidden. They could not see and have the testimony of Jesus that would bring them to salvation. This is why there is no redemption for the angels that fell. Only for humankind did Jesus die. Angels are unredeemable. They are not human, and salvation is not for them. This is why this being that John is encountering cannot be an angel. He in fact claims to have the testimony of Jesus. All of this would make him only one thing: human. This would mean he is from the great cloud of witnesses. He is not an angel. He is of human form, an assignment from God. The question would be asked: if he is human, why would John fall to worship him? The answer would be because he no longer has the veil of the flesh shielding the glory that is in him. The truth is, we don't know who we really are and what dwells in us. In Colossians 1:26-27, we see Paul explaining what is in us. The mystery which has been hidden from ages and from generations, but now has been revealed to his saints. To them God willed to make known. What are the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory? Paul said this was a mystery, something unknown and hidden. It is Christ in us, the hope of glory. The one who lives in us is more glorious than we can imagine. We carry this glory in our spirits. Should this veil of the flesh be removed, we would be astounded at who we really are as a result of Christ in us. This is why John falls to worship this guy. He is overwhelmed by the glory associated with him. The glory is in us now. We just don't realize it. If we did, we would be so much bolder and filled with faith. Clearly, this heavenly being is not an angel. I believe this is a human person from the cloud of witnesses. This is the only other option. This brings up all sorts of other questions, although the main one is, are people from the cloud of witnesses allowed functions and assignments to people who are yet on earth? It would appear so. This person is unveiled mystery to John about this spiritual dimension and how things work in the heavenly realms. Could it be that God uses people from the cloud of witnesses to help us understand spiritual mysteries? Heresy, you say. Then, what are we to do with the reality of these scriptures? Or maybe we need to be challenged to think outside our religious box and realize there are realms of the Spirit we might need to encounter. May God help us and grant us wisdom in these matters. In these last days, as to say, the veil between the heavenly realm and this earthly realm has, in a sense, become thin, as we begin to encounter the fulfillment of God's heart for the ages. When people start to talk about Jesus, their words begin to turn into prophecy, because the Spirit wants to testify and take over. When a person starts talking about Jesus, the Holy Spirit automatically manifests every time. Be encouraged and run your race with fervency. God bless. This is your Pastor Yeti.